We are the best police department in the country, and we're very proud of it.
If I can contribute, then I should. I never really lose it. When I go home, I'm still recruit bonding.
You're gonna feel different when you put that uniform on. We're all learning together. We're all starting from square one.
You're going through something over 26 weeks that is intense, that is challenging, that is life-altering. And the people that you share that with are the most important part of the experience.
It's week 14 at the Charlotte Police Training Academy, and though it may be quiet, the recruits will arrive soon to start the week off at the range for some firearms instruction.
Good morning, everybody. Let's get started. You'll see some stuff again, and there's a reason why I left these slides in this presentation, okay? Obviously, the training objectives. What's 15A401D2?
Regarding the use of deadly force.
When can we use deadly force? Somebody want to help me?
When the threat is someone else's life, your life.
The imminent use, right? We can. How do we justify that?
Reasonableness.
Through articulation.
Training and experience.
Training experience, yeah, we articulate why we thought or we perceived an imminent use of deadly physical force against ourselves or somebody else, correct? You gotta know that. You need to know that by the back of your hand. Hello, my name is Grant Holmes. I currently work for the Firearms Training Unit here at the Academy. I was the lead firearms instructor for recruit class 196. Some days felt like Groundhog Day, because we had half a class on one day and half a class the next day, and it's trying to give the exact same instruction to both groups without or with minimal variables or variability. I'm not perfect human, so there was some differences here or there, but we were able to, my colleagues specifically did a good job steering me in the right direction to make sure I stayed on course. With a large academy class like this, finding the necessary equipment was ideal, which the Range Master Sergeant Winterhalter did a good job, either A, ordering more stuff, or B, retrieving it from units who had it that doesn't necessarily need it at this time. That's a big push. Assigning weapons, assigning weapon lights, maintaining all that stuff. That is a lot, especially for an academy class this big, this size. And I'm not going to say I could do it alone. Without the help of, my colleagues and Sergeant Winterhalter, it wouldn't happen. I did hit with your class presidents. We've got to be quick. We've got to move on the range. Okay, so when I say load, move with a sense of urgency, a sense of purpose, because the faster we get that stuff done, the more trigger time we get, and the more you get to shoot, inherently is going to make quals a lot easier. We can't take their time for the most part. Now, if something is extended a little bit, yes, but we try to be very, very spot on. A, it looks more professional when you have stuff structured in a manner that you hit certain time hacks. So when people don't show up on time, you're pulling the brakes on that proverbial train. And if that train derails, the whole day seems like it's ruined. Think safety and always practice safety, correct?
Yes, sir.
These are not toys. Every time you hold a weapon in your hand, and it's no different than your blue guns. We treat it like a weapon, and the more you get those fundamentals down, the easier it is. You'll start handling it safely without even thinking about it. Treat all guns as loaded. Somebody read number 2.
Safe direction at all times.
3.
Be sure of your target and what is around and beyond it.
And 4.
Keep your finger outside the trigger guard until you are on target and have decided to fire.
High on the slide, okay? We index our fingers high on the slide.
The classroom portion at the range is as important as any. Outside of the basic lessons and statutes the recruits are required to know, they also get some instruction on their service weapons and how to maintain them.
Clearing. Take your weapons out of the box. When we're removing our weapons from the box, what are we paying close attention to? The muzzle, right? Muzzle direction. You should be familiar with the magazine release on the left-hand side of the firearm, correct? So if there is a magazine in your weapon, make sure we drop that. And then we're going to lock the slide to the rear. We're going to visually and physically inspect the chamber and the magazine well. It's always good practice if you're going to set a firearm down for any reason that we lock. If it's a semi-automatic, we lock the slide to the rear, right? If it's a revolver, we leave the cylinder open. If it's a rifle bolt action, we'll leave the bolt locked. We'll just leave the bolt back. That way anybody who walks by can see that A, the chamber's not closed, and they should be able to look and inspect the chamber.
First things first, they must learn how to disassemble their weapons.
It doesn't take much. If I come back, I've already reset the trigger, so that was too far, okay? So if I do that, then I've got to pull the trigger again because it will not allow the slide to come forward. It is just a little bit, like a 1/16 of an inch to an 1/8 of an inch. It's just barely taking that slide out of battery. Can everybody kind of see that? Some of you may not be able to grip it this way. It's okay, we'll help you. We'll show you some other techniques. But that's all you're doing is you're just taking it, and I'm using my support hand, okay? It's easier for me to reach under and grab the slide lock lever. So as I have it pulled back just a fraction, you grab the slide lock lever and you pull down towards the trigger guard. I want to practice that a couple times because this is where a lot of people struggle.
But if you're having a hard time, right, it's clear. If you're having a hard time, let us know. Right, goes forward, pull the trigger. If you got it in your strong hand still, right, you just rotate it over to where you can squeeze it like that, okay? And then we come here, pull those down at the same time as you start to let it go forward. Alright, so have you pulled the trigger? Okay. Yep. That's plenty far enough, and then you gotta pull down this side and this side. Yep. And then as it's down, start to let it go forward. There you go. Then you can take it apart.
Any questions about just that small little bit right there? A lot of people do struggle with it, but with practice it becomes easier.
Recruit Class 196 has now made it to the portion of the academy where they are spending more time as squads. The class was broken into 4 squads from the start, and each squad has a squad leader that commands the group. That means that once in these squad settings, the recruits are asked to lean on the other leaders for guidance.
I think it was good for the class presidents as well, because they've had a big role in, all right, I need you here in the morning, I need you to wear this. And now those class presidents were mingled in the squads, so now the squad leaders were relied heavily on more than the class presidents. So, and the instructors wasn't there as much as we are, like we are in the classroom. So we depended as an instructor heavily on the squad leaders, and those team members had to rely on them as well, because I wasn't there as much to tell them where they needed to be. The class president wasn't there. So the squad leaders had a big role with the different transitions of being at the CVOC, being at the firing range, or in the DT room. So I'll give information to the class presidents, and they'll delegate that information down to the squad leaders, and the squad leaders will take that information and then down to the team members.
In general, I think the entire class really appreciated getting to that squad level. We originally were in squads, more of an administrative function, but now that we're doing the more practical education, you're having to work physically with people. So it ultimately was a positive experience. My squad grew much closer. I take it as a very, very face value approach. If we are in a squad level function, I relegate myself openly to my squad leader is Contreras. And Contreras, I'm very forward with her. And Jennings does the same thing with the Los Angeles. When we are at a squad level function, it is not my role to command the squad just because I happen to be the president. That is not necessary. In fact, it creates confusion. So I am very public with them. And again, Jennings does the same thing, that we take direction from the squad leader.
I was like, this is how I lost my last one.
I think people were a little bit nervous about firearms. We have, let's just say, a 50-50 split of people who are more experienced and people who have less or no experience. As with anything that's new, even a person like myself who is experienced, I am not experienced at the CMPD range. So it is a new field, there's new commands, it's actually a new weapon. I've never used the Glock 17 before personally in my personal life or my military life. So it was new for me.
It's apparent, from what I understand, Barney's got a military background. It's apparent how he likes to stay structured when it comes to giving details to the recruit.
Despite the change, recruit Barney continues to make sure that things are taken care of by his classmates.
If you didn't sign this roster, make yourself known. Let's go. Who didn't sign the roster? There he is, yes sir. There it is. 30. Knock this admin out. I got you right here.
Look, I got it. You had the closer door.
Once the recruits arrive and get some housekeeping done, the range staff reminds them of the importance of their focus as they shoot the state's qualification course.
Day number 3 for y'all down here?
Yes, sir.
Oh, Lord. All right, so I wanted to talk to y'all about tonight or today real quick and going into tonight. Did anybody talk to your classmates about yesterday?
No, sir.
No, sir. No? I mean, I know you're not supposed to talk because it's secretive or whatever, but about them getting a little extra PT. No? Okay. So it was a difficult day with the rain and everything going on, but there was also a lack of focus at times. So I just want to talk to y'all about today's training, right? We're getting down towards crunch time in another week or so when we're going to qualify for real. So let's utilize the time today that we've got together to really kind of focus in, sharpen up our skills, listen to the instructors, and have some improvement, okay? Everybody work on their homework?
Yes, sir.
Try fire, draws, all the little things. Because as we start building now, where we're getting under time, right? We know all those little movements, the more efficient we do those, the more time we have to, right? Prep our trigger, identify the threat, do what we got to do to shoot accurately and make good decisions, right? We can't be thinking about, where's my mag? How do I get my holster undone and get out on target, right? All those things need to be unconscious by the time we come back to qual and then moving forward, okay?
Group 1, welcome to BLET State Day Qualification Practice. Go ahead and load, scan, and holster, remembering to replenish your magazine pouch. Watch your targets. With your weapons holstered and secured, move back to the 7-yard line, the dark blue line behind you. The 7-yard line is a string fire where you'll keep your target covered. You'll fire 3 rounds in 5 seconds, 2 rounds in 3 seconds, 1 round, reload, 2 rounds with the support side one-handed only in 15 seconds. I will call it as we go. 3 rounds in 5 seconds. 3 rounds in 5 seconds. Watch your targets. Two rounds in 3 seconds. Watch your target. And 1 round, reload, 2 rounds with your support side one-handed only in 15 seconds. Watch your targets. Remember to replenish your magazine pouch and top off your weapon with those 2 loose rounds from your pocket.
After the recruits shoot the course, there's only one thing to do: score the targets.
Okay, so we're clear left, center, right. The line is clear. Move forward, collect your empty magazines, and stand by for scoring and recording.
Barney? Yes, sir. Clean that up, Barney. I didn't hear what you said. Keep it clean, oh, the lower shot. I said bring it up.
Roger.
Harold.
Is that what it was? You just got tired, lost focus.
I don't know. I did dry fire.
Practice.
Wait a second. Catch that on camera. No. Oh, practice actually helps? Oh, good job.
The cadre at the range are doing a fantastic job of being one-on-one with us, and they are eliminating all of that. They're giving us the chance to really practice with the weapon. They're identifying any deficiencies and flaws on the spot, and they're tailoring it to the experience of the shooter. So I was able to jump ahead just a little bit because of my personal experience, as with some others on the line, and some that are really struggling with the concept of the weapon. They're just staying where they need to be. So the instructors, their experience shows, and we are all very grateful.
The 6 months the recruits get at the academy is set up to prepare them for their patrol training phase. One of the lessons that help bring some of that into focus is the lesson on individuals with mental illness.
Do you guys remember me? Yes. Why do you remember me? Yeah, I had the pleasure of tasing some of you folks. You guys were a very vocal group. Very vocal group. I haven't heard that much yelling and screaming in a while. So that was very entertaining. I do appreciate that. Which was worse? Taser. All right, who says taser was worse? And who says OC was worse? So all y'all with your hands up, ready to go take another ride?
Yeah, let's go.
And who's been gassed before, like military, anything like that? So a bunch of you have experience with the gas. Okay, so what's your opinion? What's the worst out of all three?
Taser.
OC. Okay. When I went through the academy, I thought the gas was the worst, to be honest with you, because I felt like I couldn't breathe. But now that I've been around it a lot more, probably OC was worse than the gas. Anyways, obviously you guys have already met me, but I'm Officer Wages. I work in CPCRT right now. That's where I am assigned. I know you guys are like, what is that? It's the alphabet soup. We'll get into that because my job actually connects into this type of lesson plan that we're going to go over today.
So what we're going to talk about today is not overly complicated. It's pretty simple stuff, but it's also very important stuff. It's the basics of how to talk to people, how to listen to people, and how to get referrals. That's it in a nutshell, okay?
Okay, so why is this block important?
We're going to deal with people with a wide spread of mental illness.
Absolutely. How frequently do you think we're going to deal with them?
Every day.
Every single day of your shift, probably multiple calls that you go on, okay? And is this a big hot button issue in the media right now? Like how so? Pertaining to police. Yeah, y'all just shoot it out. You yell it out.
Being able to identify when somebody has a mental illness or they're deaf or they have a disability.
Right. So do you think if we can recognize that someone might be in a mental health crisis, it may change how we interact with them or our response to their particular actions? Mm-hmm. Yes, definitely. And that's what we want to try to clue you guys in on today. What are some of those characteristics we want to look for to clue us in, oh, okay, this person is probably suffering from a mental health crisis, or they have some type of developmental or intellectual disability, right? Because we're going to kind of tailor our response to what these people need. Anybody familiar, excuse me, with involuntary commitment? Few people? Okay. We're going to really get into that and really explain that to you guys so you have good knowledge on that when you get cut loose and you're out there with your PTOs. Y'all may end up with more knowledge than your PTOs have on the subject, okay? I like to make sure you guys are prepared. So we'll really get into that. And then the resources, right? Maybe we can't involuntarily commit the person, so what can we do to help them in the situation? Okay, so we'll go through all the different kind of options that you have as far as the state lesson plan covers, but then we'll talk about a few that are specific to like CMPD, okay?
All right, the overall contribution of mental disorders to the total
level of violence in society is exceptionally small. Is that what we think about when we see things on the news, the media? Does that line up with the general? No? How so?
They present it as being much more tied together.
Much more tied together.
Yeah.
Okay, so the stereotype, so to speak, is that those with mental illness have more violence? Is that what you? Do you see what you go on? Yeah.
Yeah, like they're violent, scary people. Because the media, how do they portray police officers? I mean, we all know that, right? They're not too kind typically. But that's the same thing for like mentally ill folks too, that you only see the bad stuff on the media, right? And so that gives people this misconception that everyone that has a mental illness behaves like that. Do they go through crisis and have those moments? But do they live in a state of crisis all the time? No. Okay? So there's lots of folks that have mental illness or diagnosed with mental health issues walking around amongst us every day, and they're functioning perfectly fine in society.
To make sure that Recruit Class 196 is grasping the lessons of the classroom, the squads had to present to the rest of the class. The presentation showed not only was 196 paying attention, but that they had no issue holding each other accountable.
Be professional. I don't expect 16 people to speak, but I expect everybody to have some type of part in it, okay? Yes, sir. Let's start with Force Squad. That's good? We'll do 4, 3, 2, 1.
On a routine call for a car that was improperly parked. He got out with 2 women who smelled like alcohol, which prompted him to call for backup to come, do a breathalyzer or help him with that. So that's when Officer George, or former Sergeant George showed up and arrested Doolittle. And then she got, what was going to be a citation for improper parking ended up being resisting arrest and disorderly conduct as well. There we go. So during transport, she became verbally abusive to George from the records that is shown. And then once they arrived to the office, George is seen on video violently throwing her out of the car. Now, we'll get into his reasoning and why it happened and the arguments of what happened at jury in a couple of slides. And then when she was placed in a holding cell, they just put a hood on her head because it was bleeding. They didn't really give her the treatment that she needed for it. And then there was a lengthy trial. It went from his probation to him getting the whole thing dropped into the Superior Court saying, okay, we're going to retry this. So this is the main thing that he was charged with. Basically, U.S. Code 242 is a person acting under cover of law, statute, ordinance, regulation, the willfully deprive, or cause any person to be deprived from the rights, privileges, or immunity secured and protected by the Constitution and laws of the U.S. And acting under cover of law means any government official within the bounds or limits of their lawful authority, right? So he violated this when he basically threw her out of the car, right? Whether he did or didn't, right? The video shows that he threw her out of the car forcefully, and he had said that his grip slipped when he did it. But if you look at the video, he's reaching both hands inside of the car, and you can kind of see the force that he had to use to throw her out of the car.
Decides to show her a little something, ends up dropping her on the ground. That could be considered malice. We've heard from Mr. Aldridge, Ms. Battle, all of our legal experts that have come in here and lectured us. That they could use that in court. It could be deadly too. They could argue possibly that could be deadly force. Let's say she didn't get back up off the ground, and she died right there. That he could be charged with something more than what he got. And law enforcement force must be reasonably justified, like Storch just touched on. Obviously, you cannot pull somebody out of the car like that and just drop him on the ground. He didn't lose his grip. You can see that on camera. And as Robert said earlier, everyone's got cameras. Everyone's got body-worn cameras. You're not going to get away with this stuff. So be morally, ethically sound as a law enforcement official.
But, we talked about a little bit this morning at officer wellness. Do you think what goes on at your house affects work? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, so that's why we have those resources for you as well, for your family, so that doesn't interfere with your work. I think about that call for service where he was aggravated and he was upset. So think about his next call for service is a 14-year-old girl gets raped and her mom and aunt are there. and look how quick you got to change roles. So something to think about. We go from call to call, and you still got to be professional and keep that calm demeanor at all times. Understood? Yes, sir. And just some PowerPoint points. Just be careful briefing the wall, right? Look at us as you brief. And I know it's your first time, probably your first time, and you learn and you get better the more you do it. Even, it's good to have some notes, but try not to read those notes. All right, you guys got these scenarios last Monday. Think about if I told you to do a PowerPoint and talk to us about making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. You guys would kill it. Because you know how to do it. You know it, you own it. You wouldn't say and or Same thing here. If your squad leader gives you a slide where you get in your divisions and your sergeants give you something at roll call to talk about, own it, learn it, and kill it when you get that opportunity. All right?
Yes, sir.
Let's take a 10-minute break so everybody can transition, and third squad will be next.
Join us for our next episode as the recruits take on crowd management.